Wow. Hey. All right, I'm here to talk about the desktop app. Woo! I know everyone has been waiting for this moment. I can't believe Darren and Patrick let me on stage again, but I'm very happy to be here. So for those of you who missed my talk yesterday, shame on you, you missed a great one. But I'm Alisa Bartash, Product Marketing Manager here at 2600 Hertz. I joined shortly after last year's KAZOOcon, so I've been here for almost a year. I have about 10 years of experience in sales and marketing, and for those of you who don't know me, I have a passion for UC because it combines two of my favorite things, communication and technology. So with that, I'm really excited to be here, and I wanted to get a show of hands if you've ever used or seen our user portal in the web browser. Put them up, put them up. Come on, everybody, put them up. All right, and raise your hand if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. All right, so, regardless of if you're familiar with our user portal or not, you, and more specifically your end users, are in for a huge treat today. I mean, customer experience is what it's all about, right? If you heard Dave Gilbert's talk yesterday on the customer experience, and that's really the single best way to really create sticky customers and retain them for the long term, you really want to focus on your user experience and your customer experience. And for your end users, the desktop application is really going to help with that. We created the desktop application with end users in mind. We want to make their jobs easier. We want to help them do their jobs better and more efficiently. And that's what you're going to see with this. All right, so here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk about the desktop app, obviously, what it is, what it does, why we chose to use Electron, and then we'll talk about the most exciting part, the future features that we will be adding to the desktop app. All right, so what is it? All right, it's our user portal meets a desktop application. So there will be no more loading of your browser and going into Kazoo and then having to open up the user portal app. Your end users will be able to download the desktop app once, and then from there just go directly to their communications. And the best part about this is that, and we'll get a little bit more into this later as to why we chose Electron, it is platform and operating system agnostic. So that makes it even easier for your end users to get it and use it. Sure, is that better? Okay, sorry, thank you. All right, so like I mentioned, we're saying goodbye to the browser. So we're cutting out an extra step, making it so it'll be a lot easier for your end users to access their communications and everything that they need and want to do in order to get their jobs done when it comes to their communication. All right, so what does it do currently? It's all of their personal communication in one location. So like I said, we're allowing you and your customers to access all of their personal communications in their Kazoo account. And that includes things like voicemails. So it has all the functionality, including things like managing and listening to voicemails, call history, and more. And here's a shot of the call history. And then devices and numbers. So tracking and managing all numbers and devices, real-time device status so that they'll be able to know what devices they have available, and then usage frequency for each of their numbers. So we're getting a little bit more into the statistics and giving them all of the information that we found will be helpful. And we're even doing personal faxes. In their portal, they'll be able to see any faxes that they have received, and they will also be able to send faxes directly from the app, which, you might think that faxes aren't really, something that people do anymore, but shockingly it is. And this will make it a lot easier for people. All right, so why did we choose to build this on Electron? In addition to it being device agnostic, which will make it easier for everyone to download it, and it also makes it easy for them to receive updates. So as we roll things out and as we add things to the desktop app, there's no action that will need to be taken on the end user side, because we will be able to do all of the updates through the portal or for the portal. It's also a lot less management on our end, so it makes it a lot easier for us to roll things out, to give your end users new features, and to make sure that we're keeping up with the technology that we know that end users will be able to use and to help them do their jobs better. We also wanted the framework because it's something that a lot of end users will already be familiar with. Companies like Slack also use the same framework, so when you see it in just a moment, you may find it very familiar. So that will also help end users want to use it and easily become familiar with using it as well. Okay, let's take a look at it. All right, so every end user will be able to sign in with their existing credentials. And then once it loads, this is the general main home interface as of right now. And it shows everything from missed calls to new voicemails, recent calls, the numbers that are associated with the account, all of their devices, and it shows how many total and which are registered or unregistered, and the fax history. And then over here on the left-hand side is essentially the navigation, and as we add more features, that list will obviously get longer. In terms of voicemails, if your end user has multiple voicemail boxes, they will all show up here, and you can easily with the few clicks of a button, go in, listen to voicemails. They'll be able to download them, and you can also manage them, delete them. Basically anything that end users can do in the voicemail app, they'll be able to do right in here. So we're combining a lot of features and functionality into the desktop app. And in terms of call history, same thing. They'll be able to see all of their inbound and outbound calls, everything from the from number, the to number, the date, time, and duration. And then we've also made it easy for them to search if they're looking for a call history from a certain date range, or they say, oh, I remember I got a call from John Smith last Monday. They'll be able to go ahead and find his number quickly if that's what they need. We also have the search feature, making it easy to search for numbers. Not currently, as far as I'm aware, but that may be something that we'll incorporate. And then, like I mentioned earlier, all of their registered and unregistered devices. And you can also see here, we are showing that this one is registered. These other two are not registered, as indicated by the red and green icons. And then also all of the numbers that are associated with that individual user. And then the metrics are here as well. And then when it comes to faxes, this is very exciting because you can easily download any incoming faxes. This is the entire fax history. It's really easy to filter them with a lot of different filters. So that'll make it really easy for users to find faxes that have either come in or gone out. And then the send fax button screen pops up. People can put in the information, and it will also be a lot easier for them moving forward because it'll save their fax numbers. So unlike currently where you have to remember the fax email, put that in and everything like that, we have multiple steps for it. This actually makes it a lot easier. Yes? I believe that if the account is attached to that fax number, it'll show up, just like it would in the fax app that you currently use. As long as it's associated with the user who's logged into their user portal, they should have access. So this is the desktop app as it stands now. And let me quickly switch back to the PowerPoint. Okay. Great. So let's take a moment to talk about future features, because that's what's really, really exciting for not just us, but for all of your end users as well. Ultimately, we want to create a platform that brings all of the end user capabilities into one to really unify their communications and everything that they need to get their job done in the easiest and most efficient capacity possible. And, one other thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that, we're building this desktop app that will house all of the end user features and functionality, so that in Kazoo, that will be all of the administrative and management for, you guys and all the system admins and everyone like that. So we're separating those two things a little bit to make it easier both for you and for your end users. So in terms of future features, we're looking at a multitude of different things. Things like conferencing. So being able to have your end users utilize and manage their personal conference bridges from within the user portal. They'll also have in-conference moderator controls, and we're also looking at video conferencing. All right, next up, contacts management. Obviously, people want to be able to access their contacts and contact information as easily as possible. So we're looking to add things like importing, viewing, and managing all of your personal contacts from things like Google, LinkedIn, the contacts that, are on your phone, and also click to call, which will be really, really great because your end users will just need to find the person that they want to call. They'll be able to click on their name or their icon, and they will have within the user portal, if they have multiple devices, they can have a primary number and a primary device that when they click to call, it'll automatically go from that device and that number. So we're trying to make that as easy as possible and really streamline that for end users. And then obviously everyone is different and everyone's role is different, and the needs for each person's role in a company are different. So we want to make as many customizations as possible. So everything from the widgets and the layout. If you remember the home screen on the desktop app, it had a bunch of different, widgets. So we want to give people the power to set up their home screen and show them what they need. And, that will really make it a lot easier for people to have the communication that they use most and the information that they need most right at their fingertips. And we're also exploring the idea of having third-party developed widgets, such as things for the App Exchange, and that will allow users, that way users can download them and add them, and that will enable them to further customize their experience as they would like. Great picture, Patrick. That's one of my favorites, actually. So integrating a web phone and video conferencing is also something that we're going to be adding. Like I mentioned with the click to call, that can go to any of a user's registered numbers and devices, but with integrating the soft phone, that'll make it even easier, because then they'll be able to make calls directly from the desktop app, as well as video calls, and hopefully, they do video calls with Patrick and he still looks exactly like this. And then things like an internal directory with presence, because communicating with your coworkers and colleagues can be just as important as communicating with people outside of your organization. So adding a feature like this will be really beneficial and make communication between people if they're remote or even within the office a lot easier. And then even more possibilities of things that we're thinking about and things that we know that would be really valuable to end users. So things like mobile and really creating a cross-platform communication experience. A lot of people are always on the go now, and this would make communication for them much, much easier. And then other third-party integrations such as messaging clients like Slack, which I think a lot of us in this room use, and other things like business email accounts like Outlook or your Gmail, just to bring all the communications together. All right, what questions do you guys have for me? Go ahead. Where do you download it? It is not currently available as of right now, but it will be very shortly, and then you will be able to download it.
You showed click to call, and there were contacts there. Where are those contacts coming from? Just from the same account? I have a couple more.
Yeah, so once we have the contact management in the user portal, people will be able to import their contacts, and that's how they will be available.
Do you know if there's a plan to integrate, like on Mac, for example, you can easily tap into the Mac contacts or Google contacts, or is it third-party integration for later?
I can answer that back here.
Someone had the answer.
Yeah, no problem. Just a quick correction. So the initial version of this will launch with the directory support that we already have in there. So the initial one will be your company directory, but there is a plan to integrate with that. And obviously, this is now a point of presence at the customer's computer where we can do things like integrate with Outlook and the whole rest of it as well. And so the contact list management she's talking about is an initiative we have in the company to have this concept of both the company directory, your personal directory, and your personal contacts as well. And obviously with the mobile app as well, we could even pull your contacts from that and push them into your personal contact lists so that you can manage all your various contacts there and have shared contacts too with like a sales team and things like that. So it is part of a much larger initiative, but the initial one will be just the directory right now.
What's the ability to white label this or to, put our logos, things like that on it?
This will, I'll just go up to the front. Sorry. As it stands right now, this does pull down the white labeling document once you sign in, and it will pull your logo and stick it at the top. And we'll expand features on the white labeling capability as we build out additional functions. I'll just join you up here on stage. Hi.
Thanks, Carl. Hi.
Hi.
As to how to get it to the user, perhaps the option would be as an admin, I can enable it and then just email it, forewarn them saying, hey, you're going to get this. Go ahead and go through this process, short video or whatever. On the click to call, will the option be of, hey, I'm working from home, call my cell phone, forward, that sort of thing, available?
Oh, absolutely. Well, well, and the way that it's technically actually Quick Call that we're using here, but the way that Quick Call is by default set up is it rings all your devices. So the first one you answer, then it starts the outbound link there. So basically, the selection is made by answering your ringing device. But we could also put in here, select a device. So it directly goes auto answers that and then starts an outbound too. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I really like the customization piece of it. Mm-hmm. Can that be managed from an administrative perspective? say, I know no one in here hates fax, but if, for instance, someone didn't want fax popping up on any of their clients' apps, is that possible?
That's actually a great question. I hadn't actually considered that, but that ties back to that white labeling. And I was talking about we would front load additional options and features into the white label document. So when you sign in, it would kind of provision from that. That would absolutely be something that we could embed in that.
I'm coming, Alex. I know you got 100 questions for him.
All right, back to the administrating users. Are there any roles and permissions that can be turned on, turned off?
Not as it
Not
stands
yet.
currently, yeah.
What about delegated administration? If I wanted to have some power users to be able to at least see registrations, like all of the registrations are out or some registrations out.
Interesting. In the user portal directly. We could definitely build that. I mean, we have the Monster UI they could always fall back to for that information, but there is a very, I hesitate to even mention this, but there is a very long-term initiative behind this one as well to start migrating the Monster UI apps into it as well, so that this could be an entire admin portal that lives on your computer. So.
Okay, we're going to cut you guys short, and if anybody has questions afterward, definitely get Alisa or Carl or whatever. Are you guys excited about it? Another good product? Come on. Awesome. Thank you, Alisa. And thank you, crowd, for waking up before lunch. I love it. So we had one group that kept us waiting from the hackathon, so we're going to let them